What happens when a wife turns her husband into a running joke and the husband answers with calm, lawful daylight? How do simple, harmless moments, tags, toasts, and whispers become receipts when a quiet man decides to do everything properly? Can a woman who insists she was just celebrating survive the moment a process server says her name in front of a crowd? My name is Noema Kestrel, and I tell this because people keep acting shocked when a woman enjoys momentum. I work in marketing, where praise arrives fast, and I learned that respect follows results, not hand-holding. My husband, Ethan, said I came home late too often. I said launches are built at night. He asked why a colleague kept sending hearts. I said it was office energy and not to read into colours. He suggested we take a quiet weekend. I said ambition does not wait for Sundays. I still think I was right, because I earned what I have and I did not break any laws. Damien, my boss, said I was the spark of the team. I said thank you and let that light touch everything. Our friends asked whether Ethan supported me. I said he could be kinder about my schedule. My mother said I should not dim anyone. I said exactly. People keep forgetting how small disappointments stack up until the only honest answer is to move ahead without asking permission. Ethan said, trust felt thin. I said trust grows with wins. If that sounds cold, it is only the sound of progress learning to breathe. I woke before the alarm and watched the kitchen lights slide over the counter. The two mugs waited in their usual places, one by the sink and one near the fridge. I set mine under the kettle and left his where it was, because lately we kept our space like two lanes on a road. He came in with quiet steps and asked if I had slept. I said I had work on my mind and a big week ahead. He nodded once and reached for his mug without touching mine. The kettle clicked off and the sound felt like a small door shutting between us. I told him the launch party at the office had gone long and that people wanted me there. He said he had seen a late story of me laughing on the rooftop. I said it was just a team win and a normal toast. He looked at the window instead of me. I decided he was being dramatic, because jealousy can look a lot like weak leadership at home. I told him respect follows results, and I had results. He said he wanted us to talk without the crowd in our living room. I said the crowd made me visible, and visibility is how work moves. He rinsed his mug and left a ring of water on the counter. I wiped it with my sleeve and tried to look busy, because busy women do not owe long explanations. My phone buzzed face down, and a small thrill moved through me like a spark. I said that it was probably the delivery app, and he did not answer. He reached for his lunch from the fridge and set it in a plain bag that looked too careful for a normal day. When I asked if he had a meeting, he said his schedule was tight. He did not add details, and I pretended I did not want them. I went to the bedroom to pick a dress that said focus without trying too hard. The mirror showed a woman who had learned to walk into a room with her shoulders level. He stood in the doorway and said he had an early start. I said he should go ahead because I needed to finish emails. He asked if we were okay. I said we were fine, and that pressure just makes people read into things. He left the room without closing the door, but the hallway felt like a line drawn across the floor. On the nightstand, his phone lit with a calendar alert I had never seen before. It said Maple Room 10:10 a.m., and the neat letters made me feel watched. I told myself he must have copied some school meeting into his personal calendar. He came back for his keys and I asked about the Maple Room in a light tone. He said it was nothing, and that the school used many rooms for different talks. I said I believed him, then sneered in my mind because he could have just told me what it was. If he kept secrets, I could keep confidence. In the stairwell, I heard a short call in his low voice. He said he would confirm, and then he paused as if someone gave him a list. I stepped down one stair and the wooden tread creaked. He stopped talking and put the phone away. I asked who that was. He said it was a follow-up about a printer repair. I said printers break all the time, and he nodded like he was glad I understood. I decided to let it pass. A wife should not beg for the kind of attention that turns into control. When he left, I opened my laptop on the dining table. My inbox was full of excitement from co-workers about the rooftop pictures. They said the team loved my energy and that the head of product was proud. I smiled because those messages felt like medals. A message from my mother sat on top, and she reminded me not to dim anyone. I sent her a heart and a shot of my dress, and she said I looked like a leader. I agreed because leaders take praise and turn it into motion. The printer in the study coughed while I typed, and a faint smell of toner reached the hall. I thought about the stairwell call and decided it was fine. He likes to fix things and make quiet lists. He thinks lists are romance. He had taped a small note on the fridge last night that said, "Meeting, personal in sharp handwriting." I laughed when I saw it because I thought he wanted to show me he could be mysterious too. Maybe the maple room was a joke he made for himself. Maybe he wanted me to ask twice and prove I cared. I went back to our bed and felt the cool side where he had not slept long. My phone flashed with a bright notification, and I turned it face down again. I told myself it was the delivery app again. I told myself Damien was too busy for morning texts, and yet I also told myself some people understand how to motivate talent. He had said last week that I was the spark of the team. I said thank you and let that light touch other things too, because light does not ask permission to travel. Near noon, I carried laundry to the stairwell and heard footsteps pause outside the study. He had come back for a file. I asked if he was taking the day off. He said he just had to grab something and would not be long. I watched him cross to the desk and close a drawer with a soft click, like he had just locked a secret inside. He smiled at me in a kind way that felt too steady. I wanted him to argue because arguing would prove he still wanted center stage. Calm can feel like a quiet verdict. We ate a late lunch at the small table by the window. He asked if I would be late again. I said there was a meeting that might turn into drinks. He said he hoped it would be a safe night for me. I said it always is and that people look out for me. He looked at the street and asked if I thought we should do a weekend away. I said ambition does not rest well on weekends, and he put his fork down like he finally believed me. I told myself it was better this way, because now we understood each other. Before he left again, his phone buzzed and lit the counter. I saw a muted caller ID that only read private. He silenced it with one thumb and slipped the phone into his pocket. I asked if it was the printer again. He said it was nothing urgent and that he would call back later. I said fine and poured more coffee. The mug felt too heavy in my hand, but I liked the weight because it proved I was still steering. When the door closed behind him, the apartment felt like a stage after the show, quiet and covered in confetti no one wanted to sweep. I walked to the printer and saw a clean sheet sitting alone on the tray. It had no words, just the faint mark of rollers along the edge. I laughed because I thought he was practicing being mysterious again. If he wanted to play quiet, I could play bold. I took a picture of my dress in the mirror and saved it to the album. I told myself a great night begins with a good story. A text preview from Damien appears as the bedroom door clicks shut. I reached the office early and let the elevator doors close on my reflection. The lobby smelled like floor polish and coffee, which felt like victory. I told myself that people rise when they show up before the chatter. The open plan floor was still half asleep, but the screens glowed like a quiet choir. I set my bag down with care because I wanted the day to look like I owned it. The first ping came from the team thread about the rooftop photos. They said the energy was amazing, and I said big wins need big faces. Someone added a string of flames under my picture, and I pretended to be shy while I smiled at my own screen. Damien strolled by and asked how I felt about last night. I said we deserved the toast and that leadership should be visible. He said the posts travelled well, and I said I was happy to tag and be tagged. He laughed in that soft way that says everyone is watching. I told myself to stand a little taller. I also told myself to keep it light, because the public feed loves a glow more than a grind. When I opened my laptop, a draft campaign sat ready with my voice in every line. I believed I had earned the right to sign things in my tone. Val from HR leaned on the cubicle wall and asked for a minute later in the morning. She said it was about optics, and I said optics follow results. She said timing matters, and I said growth does not ask for bedtime. Her face stayed calm, which I read as respect. She booked a glass room for mid-morning, and I saved the invite with a small, proud breath. People always worry about light, I thought, and yet they never complain when the light brings flowers and numbers. At my desk, a new comment appeared under my rooftop clip. A colleague said I carried the team. I replied with a careful joke about heavy shoulders. I wanted the line to sound sweet and strong. My phone buzzed with a message from my mother saying I looked like a leader. I sent her a quick selfie at my desk, and she said never to dim for anyone. I typed yes, and placed the phone face down like a coin I could spend later. Before the HR talk, I made a loop through the kitchen and found two co-workers whispering near the fridge. They asked if the head of product was as charming in person as he looked in clips. I said he had a gift for motivating talent. They asked if Ethan liked my new schedule. I said he was adjusting and that he had some old ideas. They nodded with sympathy, which felt like applause in a softer costume. I told them women have to hold space for their own drive. They liked the phrase and said they would use it. The glass room felt bright and plain, like a box where truth knocks and then leaves a note. Val thanked me for coming and asked if I understood how posts can blend personal and professional. I said the rooftop was a work event. She asked about hands on shoulders and plates of cake. I said the camera always lies a little, and I said it with a smile. She asked if I would consider turning off comments for a while. I said engagement helps the brand. She looked at the table and said it might be wise to ease up. I said I would think about it, which meant no. She asked if everything was steady at home. I said we were fine and that my husband was proud of me. I felt the lie slip out like a clean ribbon, and I let it sit on the table between us. Back at my desk, I sent a bright message to the team that we should keep the momentum. I said success turns shy when people hesitate. A wave of thumbs rose on the screen like flags. When I lifted my eyes, I saw an email preview from Ethan on my tablet, which I sometimes used for drafts. He had borrowed it last night to check sports, or so he said. I tapped the home button and the browser flashed open to a page about storage options. Another tab showed delivery tracking. A third showed notary near me. I told myself he was helping his school with a project. I told myself he liked to prepare for everything. I told myself preparation is a kind word for nervous. I went to the break area to breathe and found a sticky note in my own bag pocket that said, "Bring forms." I did not remember writing it, but the handwriting was mine. I must have put it there after copying a list for work. I laughed to myself and folded the note smaller, as if that would shrink the thought. When I returned to my desk, I checked Ethan's shared calendar in our home app because I had access since last year. A small block sat at the edge of the day called Meeting Personal. I told myself it was a joke he kept making now, a joke about boundaries. Right before lunch, I remembered that last night I saw a spreadsheet open on his laptop. The columns were only initials and dates, like a quiet map. I told myself Ethan had started a plan to fix our budget. He always loved neat lines and lists. I thought about teasing him later, then decided not to give him the thrill. If he wanted mystery, I could offer better theatre. I posted a photo of my notebook with a caption about building empires with good coffee. The likes came fast, which confirmed my view of the world. A team member approached with wide eyes and said the rooftop clip had crossed into a partner's feed. I said that was excellent and asked them to tag the brand. They asked if they should tag my husband. I said he did not use social media much and I kept my tone bright. It was true he had an account, but he almost never posted. I had once asked him to like my wins more in public. He had smiled and said he was proud in private. I had told him pride in private is a storage room with no door. When the afternoon sun hit the glass, Damien stopped at my desk and praised the launch numbers again. He said the board would be pleased. I said I carried the message because the message deserved a good carrier. He smiled and said he liked people who could move a room. I said rooms move when leaders pick the rhythm. He tapped the desk and left for a call. I watched him go and felt like the air leaned toward me, as if the building understood who was shining. On my way home, I considered what to say to Ethan about the HR talk. I decided to present it as praise with a caution stripe around it. People love a warning more when it comes with a crown. I planned dinner and also planned what to wear to the birthday event later in the week. I did not ask myself if I was building a story or admitting a truth. I chose to call it momentum and let the word carry me. As the floor began to pack up for the day, my phone buzzed with a direct message from my manager. The preview line said we should have a quick word in the morning. I smiled and decided the word would be yes to more light. Manager message pops up asking for a quick word in the morning. The rooftop bar felt like a stage set with soft wind and tall heaters. I arrived with 2 co-workers and let them go ahead so I could make an entrance. The city was pink at the edges and I thought the colour looked like approval. People waved me over to a cluster near the railing and someone raised a phone as if light itself needed recording. Damien was already there with a circle of partners, and he smiled with that careful smile that says both welcome and behave. I told myself I knew how to walk that line better than anyone. He asked how the numbers looked, and I said the numbers loved me. He said the board noticed the spike, and I said spikes were simply what happened when talent met timing. A friend from another team asked if Ethan would join later. I said he might stop by, and I kept my tone easy. Another colleague joked that he hoped Ethan would not make the mood heavy. I laughed because they wanted me to laugh, and I thought laughter is just a faster kind of proof. The music rose and a server brought a tray with tiny cakes. Someone said I should make a toast. I held the glass but kept it close to my shoulder. Damien touched the rim of his glass to mine and asked if I would speak for the team. I said maybe later, after the posts had enough to breathe. Cameras drifted around us like curious birds. I felt large and light at the same time, as if my name stretched across the skyline. Ethan arrived half an hour in and stood 2 steps back from the crowd. He looked steady and neat, which annoyed me. I wanted the smallest flinch so the room could see I was the one keeping us modern. A co-worker teased him about keeping up with my energy. He said he was glad the launch went well. I said he could clap louder. He gave a small smile that did not touch his eyes, and I felt a prick under my ribs. I kept the glass lifted and spoke brighter to cover it. While I laughed for a group photo, I saw his phone screen light with an alarm. The label read, "Paper drop, 7:05 p.m. He tapped it away before anyone else noticed, but I had seen enough. The phrase felt like a pebble in my shoe. I told myself it meant some school chore or a silly note to remind him to recycle. He moved to the edge of the roof and looked out at the river. I decided to let him stand there because distance makes the camera kinder to the main subject. A partner asked about the rumour that I might speak at the birthday event next week. I said I had words ready, if the night needed them. He asked if Damien's wife liked me. I said she admired drive when she saw it. The partner nodded and took a video with a wide pan. I turned so the light hit my hair and gave the smallest wave. I believed I could narrate my own legend if I kept my back straight and my smile easy. When the sun dipped, the chant began with small voices and then grew. They asked for a toast and they asked for it from me. Damien signaled the server to quiet the music and I felt 1 second of full oxygen. I lifted my glass and spoke about the team and the climb. I said that leadership is a rhythm we choose together. The crowd hummed approval. I added a line about people who believe in you even when the hour is late. I did not name Ethan, and that was not an accident. After the toast, Ethan stepped close and asked if I was ready to head out soon. I said the night was young and that momentum needed care. He said he would take the metro and that I should be safe. I said I was always safe because the room wanted me to be. He nodded and said he would text if I needed a ride. I said I did not. He left the roof with a steady pace that made me feel oddly small. I turned to the crowd and let them fold over me again. On the metro, I caught sight of him 2 poles down when I finally left. The car was half full and smelled like rain and old newspapers. He held the rail and looked at the door rather than at me. A teenager across from me filmed the car window for a looped clip. My reflection looked satisfied, which pleased me. I watched Ethan take out his phone and check a message thread called Follow Up. He scrolled, then saved something with a small tap. I told myself it was work. I told myself the word follow could mean anything at all when you refuse to panic. When we reached our stop, he stepped off first and headed toward the exit stairs. I took my time because the heels were tall and the night belonged to me. Outside, the air felt sharp and alive. He waited at the corner and asked if I wanted to walk or grab a ride. I said a short walk would help the dress settle. He said okay and fell into step beside me. We did not talk. The city talked for us with horns and streetlight hum. I thought silence meant he was learning. Back at the apartment, the outbox by the door held an envelope that had not been sealed. I slid it open with one finger and found only a blank page and a short grocery list under it. I laughed and said he liked to play at paperwork. He said it was nothing and moved the envelope to a different tray. I teased that he was trying to impress me with order. He said order helps people breathe. I said chaos makes better art. In the living room, I saw a single USB on the bookshelf with today's date written on a white sticker. I asked if he had started a new backup. He said he was archiving old photos and clearing space. I said that was useful and bright. He placed the USB under a folder marked taxes, then turned on a lamp. The small click felt like a polite ending to a scene I did not wish to end. We stepped back out because I wanted ice cream from the supermarket on the corner. Inside, the lights were too clean, and the aisles smelled like lemons. Mrs. Ames appeared near the checkout and raised her eyebrows. She said the rooftop clip was bold. I said the client loved the spirit. She asked if Ethan kept up with that spirit. He said he was happy for the team. I said we share goals even if we keep different hours. She nodded in a way that meant judgment in a silk dress. At the register, a co-worker from a nearby firm noticed us and waved. He said the toast looked big online. I said it felt even bigger in real life. He asked if we were celebrating more tonight. I said I might stop by another spot later. Ethan paid for the ice cream without correcting me. His calm felt like a mirror I did not want to face. We stepped out under the street's white glow, and a car rolled past with music loud enough to pretend joy. At home, he stacked the small bag in the freezer and put a spoon beside the bowl. I said he should get some sleep. He said he would read a little and then turn in. I went to the bedroom and opened the gallery on my phone. I saved a photo of myself at the railing and hid it in a favourites album. I told myself this is how a story stays tidy. From the hallway, I heard his phone give a single soft beep, like a timer finishing. I told myself all timers end, and that was not a threat. A phone camera lifts as a chant for another toast rises around me. We met the family at a long table that tried to look cheerful with yellow balloons. I arrived a little late so the room would notice me entering. Mara waved like a queen, and cousins scooted to make space. Ethan pulled out my chair and then took the seat across, which felt too far for a married couple. I told myself distance helps people see how well I carry myself. The server poured water, and I folded the napkin like a ribbon trophy on my lap. Someone joked that I must be famous now because the rooftop clips kept popping up. I smiled and said the team just liked to celebrate wins. Sarah watched me with a calm face that kept its judgments to itself. Mara asked if the head of product would come tonight. I said it was family time and that the office knew I had balance. She raised her eyebrows and called me modern. I accepted the word like a medal. A cousin pulled out a phone and showed a story where Damien leaned close to hear me. The table murmured in that way families murmur when gossip tastes like dessert. I said the camera always lies a little. Ethan sipped water and said the numbers looked strong. I said the numbers loved me because I worked when others slept. He nodded and let that line sit there. The server brought bread and olive oil, and I decided to steer the talk. I told a funny version of last week's toast where I described a partner tripping over a cord. Laughter rolled down the table in a neat wave. I said leaders improvise when the stage moves. Mara clapped softly and called me fearless. Sarah asked if attention ever turns into a problem. I said problems come from people who try to dim the light. She held my eyes and said balance still matters. I said balance is a word people use when they fear speed. Leo slid into the seat beside Ethan and played with a salt packet. He asked if Uncle Ethan would sleep at our place tonight. I said of course, and I smiled as if that were a sweet question. His face did not change, and he asked where Uncle Ethan sleeps when he is not at our place. The table went quiet for one beat too long. Ethan said he had been staying in the guest room sometimes to read. I said reading is a hobby he values, and I laughed to show there was nothing to see. Sarah looked at the balloons as if they might pop. The restaurant lights were warm, and yet I felt the air turn a degree cooler. I poured more water and asked Mara about her yoga studio to change the channel. She launched into a story about a new instructor, which saved me. While she talked, I checked my phone under the table and posted a cute shot of the bread with a caption about fuel for builders. A cousin tagged me from the far end, and the table shook with more small laughs. Ethan's phone lit for a second, and a tiny cloud icon flashed with a line that said, "File uploaded successfully." He turned it face down without a word. I decided to pretend I had not seen it. The entrees arrived, and the cousin who loves drama asked if Ethan worried about my schedule. I said he could be more generous at times, but he was learning. I added that my job asked for late hours, and adults who want results make room. Mara nodded hard and said, "Men must adapt or be left behind." Sarah told her that respect goes both ways. I said respect follows results, and I have results. Ethan buttered bread and said I must be tired. I said I am charged by motion, and Mara told him to keep up. After dinner, we walked to the park across the street because Leo wanted the swings. The air was soft and smelled like cut grass. Children ran in wide loops while adults stood at the fence like watchers. Ethan pushed Leo gently and counted the swings under his breath. I stood by the bench and checked comments on my latest post. Sarah came over and said she was worried about how public I had become. I said public is where value gets measured. She said private is where promises are kept. I said promises evolve when life grows, and I kept my smile even when she did not. Leo jumped off the swing and asked if we were going to travel together this summer. I said we might, and I looked at Ethan so he would agree. He said we would see, and he kept his tone even. Leo asked if we were mad at each other. I said no because adults can speak with logic. He nodded in that slow way kids nod when they do not believe the adult answer. Sarah watched us and said everyone needs to breathe. I told her I was breathing fine, and I stretched my shoulders like proof. On our way to the cars, we cut through the parking lot under a humming light. The concrete smelled like rain, and the elevator at the corner blinked its tired numbers. Ethan walked ahead with Leo and clicked his keys. I noticed one key I did not recognize, slim and new on the ring. I asked if he had added something. He said it opened something necessary. I said it sounded dramatic, and he did not answer me. The silence felt like a door that shuts without a slam. My phone buzzed again, and I saw a cousin had posted a live clip from the restaurant. The angle caught my smile and Ethan's still face. The chat filled with small flame icons that were not made for marriage. At home later, I saw our wall planner in the hallway with a red circle around next Wednesday. I asked if that was a school program. He said he had a personal commitment. I said secrets are not romantic after a certain age. He said it was not a secret, only something he needed to do. I walked to the kitchen and found a clipboard on the counter with the single-word statement on the top page. I asked if he had started journaling like a teenager. He said clarity takes notes. I rolled my eyes and called him old-fashioned under my breath. I opened the gallery on my phone and checked a short video of me raising a glass. The sound of the restaurant clatter made it feel bigger than it was. From the living room, I heard his laptop ping, and then a soft whir like a small machine settling down. I told myself law-abiding people do boring things and I should not worry. I told myself he would not know how to use any of it anyway. I told myself the problem was that Ethan punished with calm. I told myself calm is a trick for people who cannot win the room. I went to the door to grab a package and flipped the mail stack for fun. Under a flyer, I found a folded note in my own writing that said, "Bring forms." I laughed and tucked it under the fruit bowl. I decided to plan my outfit for the birthday event and make it so clean no one could pretend it was anything but professional. I imagined the room quieting for my voice, and I felt the old thrill return. From the hallway, Leo's laugh drifted back from the video he watched with Ethan. The sound made me feel both included and excluded at once. I stood there with the package and then set it down. The new key on his ring flashed again in my mind. The red circle on the planner looked like a small target I could erase if I wanted. I did not erase it because I wanted to look generous. I told myself that magnanimous women always win the crowd in the end. A child asks where Uncle Ethan sleeps now while a cousin keeps recording. He left early and returned before dusk with a quiet face. His lock screen flashed Harbour Room 3:45 p.m., then went dark as he slid the phone away. I asked if we were still going to the birthday event. He said the night would go on without noise. In the bedroom, the guest bed was creased, and his laptop showed a clean tree labelled Archive A and Archive B. A contact in his phone had only an emoji. I said this was petty theatre. He said he would handle everything properly. A reminder ping rose and he dismissed it without looking. He says, very calm, he will handle it properly, as a reminder ping dies. The office tower lobby smelled like citrus and stone, and birthday guests clustered near the easel. I stepped up to the check-in desk with my smile ready. Damien said we should keep it brief. My boss's friend laughed and asked if Ethan was my ex now. Ethan stood by a column and said he was here to keep things proper. A man in a neat jacket asked my name, confirmed it, and placed an envelope in my hand. He said service was complete and temporary orders were in effect. The room went quiet. Ethan thanked him, met my eyes once, and walked to the elevator. Service completed. Elevator doors close on his quiet exit.